Morning, Raptor Freak Alexios here. Monday morning. Good morning, Tom Duke. Let's go, Tom Duke. Yes. Yes, we're going to talk about today on the Monday Memories. Scottie Barnes' first road game in the NBA, his first win as a NBA professional, and how sweet it was. It was on the parquet floor of Boston, October 22nd, 2021. The Raptors had their second game of the season this past season that just completed for us. But first, just some general house cleaning. I forgot to mention yesterday that there's a new open gym that came out on Saturday. Absolutely fantastic open gym that covers the entire playoff series against Philadelphia. Has extended footage of the Rookie of the Year award going to Scottie in practice. You get to see like the build up before it. You get to see a little bit more extra in there than that little short clip that they showed when they gave it to him. So highly recommend watching the new open gym. One of my favorite parts of it is when the Raptors are getting ready before the game. They're in a huddle up in the laneway, of course, to come out. And Franklin, the dog of the mascot for the Philadelphia 76ers, comes and tries to get in their huddle. And one of them goes, get out of here, punk. And John Attilia is right there to try and grab Franklin, the dog, and get him out of their huddle. So look for that really funny spot on the new Open Gym episode when they kick Franklin out of their little pregame huddle in the breezeway to come out. But yeah, really good episode. Once again, that kind of Steve Sabol NFL films treatment with those kind of games is absolutely beautiful. And in fact, I recommend any of the Philly fans that are watching me still, you go ahead and watch that open gym also, because you'll really enjoy it yourselves, because you see the open gym treatment that we get with our team and behind the scenes, and you'll see it a bit with your team also, and get to see some of your great highlights on there and how the series went down. So Philly fans, watch the latest open gym, Toronto Raptors open gym. Maybe I'll put it in the comments, a link to it. And then the other new content that came out this weekend that is absolutely fantastic was the latest episode of Hustle Play by Chris Boucher. And once again, he's just real candid and listen. All right. Him and Mike Roach are talking about him being a free agent, and they're really trying to treat it really lightly. But you know what, Chris, you gave some tells in the middle of that whole thing. You said a couple of things that kind of like, you were like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And one of them was talking about coming back with the rest of the guys improved for next season and stuff like that. I think you're kind of tipping your hand a little bit here. But he did make it very aware that he is a free agent and that he's going to explore all of his options this summer as far as like what people want to offer him for money from other teams and stuff like that. I really hope Chris is smart about this. I think he will be, and that he will end up re-signing with us. But very interesting to watch the Hustle Play episode from this weekend. It's just him and Mike Roach, no guest. And he's really talking a lot about like how he saw this past season. He even talks a bit about the Philly series and what it was like playing against Embiid and the different things that happened in that series. And, he does talk about some of the stuff, the controversy and things that have been going on recently. So very, very interesting to hear that the takes from Chris Boucher, somebody who was involved in the middle of that series and stuff. But he kind of tipped his hand that he expects to be back in a Toronto Raptors uniform for next season. But it's not official and a lot of different things could happen. And he did leave it kind of out there. But he says he lives in Toronto. He's Canadian. He wants to be here. He owes his career to the Raptors and he feels very loyal to them. So I feel like if we see value in having him come back, he'll be back for sure. It may be up to our GM, though. That may be that he's like, he doesn't want to invest in him anymore. He might let him walk. I think that would be dumb by Bobby, just because we have a really solid guy who fits in as a role player off the bench now in a lot of different ways. That's really valuable. Yeah, G saying Heat did not look great last two games, missing shots. Interesting series, now tied at 2. Yeah, really interesting. Like One of the clips that I watched this morning, G, that was really interesting was a comparison between Precious Achua playing Joel Embiid and Bam Adebayo playing Joel Embiid. And the highlights are very stark. It's like Precious can do whatever he wants to Joel. Meanwhile, Bam is really not good against him. Like he's ineffective around the basket. I guess he's just too slow. He's slow enough that he's slow enough that he can just keep up with him and kind of keep him like ineffective, because that's a big difference in what we were doing against Joel and what Miami has been not successful at doing. Is Bam Adebayo has not been stepping up like Precious has against Joel. It's very interesting, and that series is tied. And I'm sure Philly fans are saying something stupid like today that we would have swept them if Pascal hadn't hit Joel in the face. And I was going to, don't get it twisted. Come on, you're not going to sweep Miami. And especially getting two on their home court, I can understand y'all holding the home serve in Philadelphia against them. But getting two on their home court to start the series, no, that was never realistic. Trust me, it just wasn't. So this series is exactly where it is. And this is what we wanted. We didn't want Miami to just sweep them out. Let's get some good NBA action, a good, nice series, and see some chess. Will Lowry get healthy enough to be able to help them more in this series? Because he is really, really not doing well. His hamstring's messed up. And he said to the public, he's like, if you felt like what I felt like with my hamstring, you wouldn't play. You wouldn't even come near the court if you had to deal with the pain that I'm dealing with right now. So that informs us about why Lowry is playing so poorly in this series also. Although I will tell you, in that game last night, he was one of the higher plus minuses for the Miami Heat, even though he did not score a lot of points. He was getting some assists. All right, let's keep going. Tom Duke is saying, my favorite memory might be the fact this underrated team won games 4 and 5 versus the Sixers. Almost had to get a tattoo. Yeah, Tom, you were close to getting that tattoo there. 2 wins away from that. But yeah, I should have known that there would have been a little bit of a letdown coming into game 6 in Toronto with how we were feeling from game 5. A little overconfident. Maybe we felt like because we had the home crowd and all this kind of stuff, when we underestimated Philadelphia's desire to not have to come back and face their own crowd. In fact, I think it's very interesting that Philadelphia's won these last 2 games against Miami because their crowd is like kind of like an abusive partner that, like, if you don't perform in front of me, like, we're going to beat you up. And I think that the team is actually scared of their own crowd. I mean, Tobias Harris said in the last series, part of the reason why they had to tie up the series in Toronto in game 6 was they did not want to go to game 7 in Philadelphia and face their crowd in case they failed. They did not want to even have the realm of that possibility. So I feel like part of the reason why they won these last 2 games in Philadelphia is that they're afraid of their people. They're afraid of their own fans, and they have to make sure that they win. All right, let's see. G saying, want to keep Boucher. I absolutely want to keep Boucher also. And G, you watched that Hustle Play podcast like I did yesterday, and you tell me what you think that he's saying on there. He sounds like he's a Toronto man. He's sticking around. He's cheering for the Leafs. He's doing an interview, his podcast with the CN Tower in the background behind him. This is Toronto, man. He may be Montreal originally, but this man is Canada. This man needs to stay on the Raptors. Put a contract towards him. Bobby Webster. Oh, my gosh. Tom Duke saying, me too. Chris is officially my favorite Raptor. Yeah, he's mine too right now, as long as he re-signs. Now, if he doesn't re-sign, then I have to search for a new one. But I have a good feeling. Like, if you're going to ask me who between Thad and Chris is more likely to re-sign with the Toronto Raptors, I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Boucher is probably more likely to re-sign with the Toronto Raptors between the two of them. G saying, Precious is going to be amazing. Watching this now, can see the potential. He wants to stay. In fact, this is I think he wants to stay too, Chris, as far as like with the hustle play. And your comment about Precious is very interesting. I want to actually use this as a segue into the segment for today. Because, listen, the Raptors started this past season with a really bad game. It was the homecoming game, the first game of the season against the Washington Wizards, Scotiabank Arena. And basically the Wizards came out and smacked us right in the face and like gave us a reality check about this is NBA basketball. This isn't preseason. This isn't college. This isn't any other level that you've ever been in. And this is serious. And our guys needed that wake-up call in that first home game of the year, the first game of the season against Washington, where they got beat bad. And well, I was wondering, well, what is this team going to be like this year? I was real worried. And their next game was on the road in Boston, like 2 days later. They played on Wednesday against Washington, and then the Friday night game was against Boston in Boston on the parquet floor. Now, I knew ahead of time that Scottie Barnes had a special connection, affinity for Magic Johnson before this game. And for some reason, I really thought that this would be a very important game to Scottie because of this. And that, watching the Winning Time not docu series, cartoon series on HBO recently made me realize that whole part about them talking about we need to win in Boston. We need to make sure we win in Boston. And that was the coaches, Westhead and Riley, talking about that to save their jobs, and McKinney's job also. It's like they're going to fire us. They're going to get rid of us. They're going to bring in somebody completely different if we don't win in Boston in this game. So Magic took it upon himself to really kick some ass in that first game that he had in his NBA career on the Boston floor. On their court, and he wanted to beat Larry's ass, of course, because of that rivalry and that whole thing. Well, in some ways, I felt like what happened going into the game this year with Scottie Barnes, his first road game as an NBA professional, was going to have that kind of like mentality of Magic Johnson going into the Garden and playing against Boston and their fans and stuff like that. And he did. He came out there and he was gangbusters. I was rewatching the highlights from that game. And listen, this is his second professional game as an NBA player, and he scored 25 points. He had, 13 rebounds, 2 assists. He was 11 of 17 from the field, and that was only his second game as a pro. And that was against Boston on their court. But also at the same time, bringing up Precious. Precious had an amazing game in this game also. Some of the highlights I watched yesterday, I forgot about, that even in the second game of the season, Precious was breaking people down off the dribble and going to the basket around them. And I was like, I didn't even realize at that time that, like, holy crap, I thought this was just a fluke. Maybe he just got the special move because he burned someone. But no, consistently throughout the season at different times, Precious would take the ball off the dribble and attack the basket. And that was a real precursor, a prelude to what was to come with him also. And I just love that in that game, it wasn't Fred. Pascal was still hurt. It wasn't OG. It was the rookie and Precious and Gary Trent that stepped up and really carried the heavy water in that game. Specifically, Scottie was our leading scorer. Gary had 20, and then I think Precious had 19 or something like that. No, Precious had 15, but he was still one of the leading scorers. Now, the great thing about this game is that it was very competitive for most of it. Like in the first half and right up until about halfway through the third quarter, the Raptors in Boston were pretty close, but then we busted it wide open. We played this amazing defense on them that shut them down. They only were able to score 36 points in the second half of this game. And it was really a show of one of the first shows of the Raptors stifling defense and how they can absolutely shut down another team. And by the end of the game, the Boston fans were booing the Celtics off the court, much like the Sixers fans have treated their team in recent weeks. Yeah, it was crazy. And as Udoka said after the game, that they punked us. They came on our own court and they out-physicaled us and punked us and took it to us. And it was really kind of a reaction to the first game against Washington and how they punked us. And we needed to go out and prove that we could punk them. And the whole big exclamation point of the route of Boston and Scottie Barnes' first ever win in the NBA as a professional was really capped off with that little baby hook, that running hook that Scottie did across the lane near the end of the game. He did the Magic Johnson signature baby hook across the lane. And it was I called it right then. I saw it. It's like, holy crap. He just did the homage. He just did the tribute to his hero, the guy he's kind of patterning his whole game after, Irvin Magic Johnson, in a game in Boston on their home court while we were routing them out. The Raptors routed them out. And I saw it as a whole tribute kind of thing. And it was just a beautiful debut of huge, like a rookie debut in some ways on the road winning against Boston, a real huge accomplishment. And, it was weird because we had the first game, which looked so bad and was really disappointing because it was the homecoming game and everybody wanted to have a rah, rah, rah. We're so happy. Everybody's happy. We're back in Scotiabank Arena, and Washington stole that from us. And then the next day, 2 days later on Friday night, we played Boston in Boston and routed them on the court. I was like, this is going to be a very bipolar team, that we're going to have maybe these bad games where we're developing and like learning because we have such a young team. And then sometimes they're just going to be on it and they're going to overachieve and they're going to kill teams also. And that is really how the season shaped up. We had very disappointing games where we didn't have good effort and we lost to teams that weren't as good as the Raptors. And then we had games where we absolutely excelled and went above and beyond and beat teams we had no business beating also. It was really a good foreshadowing for how the year would go. But what a great first win for Scottie Barnes as an NBA professional. October 22nd, 2021, the second game of this past season we just played. Let's see what Tom Duke's saying. How much is Precious or any of the guys being taught by the coaches, or are they ultimately in charge of their own direction for development, like concentrating on better at threes, etc.? Well, Nick did say that like they have interviews and like meetings before they go off on their way back home or vacation or wherever they want to go at the off season. And he basically sits down with them and he tells them what would really help the team if they worked on and got better at. So they do give them materials or kind of an itinerary or maybe some sort of idea for goals to try and set for this summer. And they do get very specific about it. Like this is something that they've been working on with Pascal for like 5 years or so about his ball handling, that he developed into this point forward by them encouraging him and trying to get him to develop it in the off season. And that is a really good example right there, is that they purposefully said, Pascal, we want you to handle the ball more. So can you in the offseason really work on your ball handle and your dribble and make sure that you're really sound and not making turnovers and stuff? It's just simple as that, Tom. So it could be that Scottie, they give him a list of things. We really want you to focus on these things. Precious, same thing. And I'd be very curious to see like if it's some really crazy advanced stuff. Like if I got to see these pieces of paper, I'd be really cool to see these. I'm sure they're very proprietary and something that are kept inside the Raptors organization for sure. But yeah, that's really it. They're going to tell them, they're going to give them maybe an outline or maybe some sort of like this, if you could do this, this, and this, and it may be not really totally mandatory, but this is like if you can make strides or gains in these areas on your game, then they'll really help the whole team when you come back. And that was the thing that Chris said. He's like, when we come back, we're going to all help be better next year. I'm like, whoa, wait, you just said coming back and playing with the Raptors, Chris. So maybe you are already kind of figured out like what you're going to do with Bobby Webster this summer. G saying Raptors are one of the worst shooting teams. So imagine when they get consistent shooting, they're long and athletic, add shooting, and they're legit threats. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like we got the scrappiness, we got the defense, we got the rebounding, we've got the promise. But really, we did not shoot well this year. It was so frustrating how badly and how inconsistent our shooting was this year. That we won so much, even though we were a bad shooting team. And this is something that, like, this whole season, we could have looked at and said, "Well, this is an easy place where they can really improve." And like they'll get more wins just from shooting just a little bit higher percentage. Like that's the thing that Shaq and Charles don't realize. We didn't shoot well this year. And if we just improve our shooting overall as a team, we get a couple of our guys to get a little more consistent, then look out. This team's going to win at least 5 more wins than they did this year, at least, if not 10 more wins next year. That's the way I look at it. Tom Duke's saying, so Boucher is given a chef and a new pantry full of weight gain powder. Just kidding. Who he is, who he is. He's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what they would tell Chris. They've tried to do this to Chris. I'm sure they've sent him to some all-you-can-eat buffets. I'm sure that they tried all kinds of stuff. It's just, and I know for me personally that, like, look, in my mid-40s, I still can't gain a whole lot of weight just because I just have a weird metabolism and it's just a weird body type. And some people are just like that. I think that it has a lot to do with what's happening with Chris, is that he just burns real hard and fast. And like whatever he could eat like a horse, he may be eating like 3 or 4 times what a normal person would eat, but it just doesn't stay on him. It just doesn't stay on him. And some people just have that kind of body type. I do want to say though, like in the last year, since Tampa and this year, that Chris does look a lot stronger, that he doesn't look as frail or feeble like when he first showed up with the Raptors. At times, I was worried that somebody could break him in half. But now he does look a lot more solid. And you couple that with experience and having more veteran knowledge of how to play specific players and different things and stuff like that. He's much more sound out there. In fact, his biggest knock for me, his first couple years on the Raptors, was he was a horrible defender. He could not play defense. Like he was only good for like rim protection and shot blocks. But as far as position or trying to keep guys out of the paint or any kind of like trying to stop people, he couldn't, because he was so thin and such an easy like push aside and just score kind of guy. Well, that's changed. He's definitely changed that this year. He is such a pest, and they can't do that to him anymore. And that's a big, huge improvement with him. He may look super skinny still, but he's way stronger now. And he's also much better at using his body type in different ways effectively, instead of like getting just pushed to the side like he used to. If y'all remember watching him in his first couple years with the Raptors, when he would come out there, he was basically an open door, and that was part of the reason why we couldn't play him at center, is because he wasn't providing any kind of solid physical defense. Sure, he could block shots and protect the rim, but he could not physical anybody. And that's not the case anymore. Like we've seen him try to guard Joel Embiid in the playoffs this year, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, so just in general, I hope Chris Boucher does resign with us. I think from watching Hustle play, it looks like he probably will, as far as like he kind of gave a tell saying that he expects to be a Raptor next season. So that's really good. That makes me happy. But of course, nothing's guaranteed. We don't know what's going to happen. There could be some crazy deal that comes from another team, and he just has to take it for some reason or whatever, or whatnot. But I have a good feeling about him being back with us because he's family, and he doesn't really want to go and play in the States. He wants to stay here. As he said in his thing, he's like, he's different. He knows he's different. He embraces being different. Well, we love different here in Toronto, and we will take you as you are here in Toronto, but that may not be the case in other places, Chris. You need to realize that. They may want to give you money, but it could be a whole nightmare also. If you went to another team and it was a different kind of settings, different kind of team, different players around you, it may not fit exactly. So I will caution you, Chris, if you want to take money or loyalty, you got to pick one. Take loyalty and stick here, because we'll do you right, because we've done you right this whole time so far. And if you go to another team, there's no guarantees they'll do you right. You could get really treated poorly, maybe like not get any time, stay at the end of the bench. You may not develop any further because of the other team's not into development. They're just about this. There's all kinds of pitfalls you could fall into and stuff. So just getting back to the original subject of today, the Monday memory for today, October 22nd, 2021, the second game of the season against the Boston Celtics on their court. How sweet it was to beat the Boston Celtics on their own court, have their fans booing their team, have their coach say that we punked them, have our rookie come out and have a gangbusters, kind of like a really big debut for him and getting some sunshine on him. And little did we know that would be the beginning of the climb towards the Big Roy Rookie of the Year award for Scottie Barnes. And that the games like that game in Boston kind of set the table for him to get the Rookie of the Year award. Because in the beginning of the season, is weird, Scottie was actually leading scorer in a lot of our first games in the first 10 games of the season. He was our number one scorer, scored the most points before Pascal came back and got from his injury and started playing also. Scottie was actually our leading scorer in a lot of those games. So what a great game. We ended up beating them by 33 points. 115 to 83. What a great score. And, Fred didn't even do a whole lot. He was 3 for 10 from the field. He had 11 points, but he did have 9 assists. And one of the other things I really loved about this game was we dominated them in the paint. We had better fast break. We actually had more assists than them. And once again, I'm going to be sounding like a broken record going into this new season when we get closer to it. Is last season, to me, it was all about rebounds and trying to out rebound the team as much as possible. But this next season, I really want the Raptors to out assist the other team. And that means playing better between each other so that our assist total beats their assist total. Because in this Boston game I'm talking about today, we beat them in the assist badly in it. And that was really good. All right, let's see. Tom's saying, Goran was being played that game. Glad that option is in the past. Yeah, Goran played in this game. Watching the highlights, it was weird to see Goran and Svi out there at the same time running around on the court. And in that game, Svi was actually pretty good. He ended up with 2 for 5, 2 for 4 from 3, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 8 points for Svi. He was a plus 11. He had 3 rebounds, a steal, and assist. But he did have 3 turnovers. And Goran had 5 points. He hit 1 3, and then he had a 2-pointer also, and just 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal. So, those guys were not really filling those minutes that well. But, it ended up, even Bonga played in this game. And, of course, Banton got in for a little bit also. Malachi didn't do anything. Justin didn't do anything. Chris Boucher, 11 points off the bench, 8 rebounds. Not bad, not bad. But really, it was Scottie, Precious, and Gary, and a little bit of OG also. 4 for 17. He missed all of his threes, OG. But he was a plus 11. Just a great game all around by the Raptors against Boston. And I just love to see it. It was a great memory. So just another Monday memory. I'm going to go through the whole season, this past season, with Monday memories all summer, and just kind of highlight important games that I felt like were important for the Raptors this past season. So we had the second game against Boston today. I appreciate everybody being here. Please like, comment, subscribe. Hit that red subscribe button if you enjoy my content. Tomorrow it's Raptor Freak Trivia, and we're going to be doing trivia. I don't even want to tell you all the subject. Just look out for the clip, and maybe it'll give you a little hints about what we're going to do trivia on tomorrow. So 9:30 Eastern. Tomorrow morning we'll be doing Raptor Freak Trivia. I hope you will join me. And as I said, go check out Hustle Play with Chris Boucher, the latest episode, and also the latest episode of Open Gym. Fantastic season finale for this past season. Once again, just excellent work by that production crew and whoever the original creators are. You guys are the best. We are so lucky as a franchise to have a show like Open Gym for so many years. It has just been so valuable and fun for Raptors fans. I have so much gratitude towards you guys that make it. Thank you. All right, y'all. Have a great Monday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for trivia. We're just a couple of weeks. It's the playoffs, baby, and Raptor Free Trivia. If you want to get that jersey, that practice jersey signed by JYD, you got to come and play, and you really got to score a lot of points if you're going to try and beat G at this point. Because this man, I think he has like the amount of points that like the next 3 people in the standings have. He still beats them if you add all them up because he's just been dominating. It's just dominating. It's just how it is, but it's still fun to come and play. So come and see if you can get a couple questions right tomorrow. All right, y'all. Have a great Monday. And as Tom Duke said earlier, let's go Raptors. Yeah.